Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we're discussing the latest advance in the Necron storyline, with Imotekh officially beginning the war against the Silent King. Okay, so on Saturday morning, getting the food shop out the way, it was once again that great time of the month when I see the new White Dwarf sitting there on the shelf. And this month, having a flip through the pages, I was even happier to see a little Szarekh Dynasty and Imotekh focus. And boy is my man Imotekh not messing around anymore. Now, ever since Szarekh the Silent King returned to the galaxy, the Necron dynasties have obviously been undergoing a state of change, which you could say is understandable given the supreme ruler of the former Necron Empire had returned out of the blue. Despite Szarekh having severed his command protocols after ordering his race into their hibernation, such is the prominence of the Silent King, the unsurpassable might of his dynasty. Many lesser dynasties immediately repledged themselves to his service upon his announcement of return, choosing to, now they actually had the choice. And some did through that loyalty. Others, as is the way with the Necron Pharaons, did so in an attempt to gain favour. And many more were yet bought. Allegiance given in return for the power only Szarekh could provide. And well, Szarekh swiftly began re-establishing his authority, his rule across the dynasties. All save one, it seemed, however. The Szarekh dynasty. Imotekh the Stormlord was not happy with Sarekh's return, and he quite simply refused to bend the knee, seeing Szarekh as the man responsible for the plight of the Necron race. And we've discussed this opposition since its first sighting, as I've been a huge fan of this underlying storyline. The concept of a possible Necron Civil-War, and it's largely been that subtle underlying narrative since, settling into a Cold War of propaganda and tension, as the two dominant dynasties continued on, warily keeping an eye on the other. We've had a few reports of Sarekh's forces arriving on battlefields ominously, and watching the Szarekh dynasty lose, refusing to reinforce them against the Imperium or other lesser race. However, for the most part, it's remained a war of tension. That was until now. As within this month's White Dwarf, we got a great little update on Imotekh, within their Index Xeno focus on the Szarekh dynasty. It's laid clear again how Imotekh had been opposed to the Silent King's triumphant return from the beginning, viewing him as not only failing the Necron race, but also having abandoned them in their moment of need. And, I know I'm an Imotekh guy, but the Stormlord's kind of got a point there. Whatever the truth of Sarekh's exile, of which there remains much to be truly revealed, the fact is he left the Necrons in their moment of need. However, I digress. It's revealed here that originally Imotekh had allowed, or permitted as it's stated, his lesser nobles and client dynasties to clash with the Zarrakan legions. So small-scale skirmishes, inadvertent conflicts, all without larger-scale wars and campaigns being declared and fought. But it was the revelation of Sarekh's intentions in the Pariah Nexus that has caused Imotekh to say enough is enough, and outright launch full-on civil war. We know Szarekh established various anti-warp nexuses across the galaxy, harnessing the Necron use of Noctilith, aka Blackstone, to halt the flood of the warp and turn back the tide. But it's Sarekh's secondary objectives within these areas that was just a step too far for Imotekh, with these nexuses also reducing humanity and any lesser race to mindless drones, Szarekh intends to use this effect as a counter to biotransference, to somehow transfer the minds of the Necron race back into these bodies of flesh and blood, to redeem himself for the curse of metal he inflicted on his people all those millions of years ago. However, that is something Imotekh can absolutely not allow. Not only can the Stormlord not allow it, he's absolutely infuriated Sarekh's even attempting it. Because as far as Imotech's concerned, the immortal metal bodies the Necrons have are the only thing the Silent King ever did right. That they need them to reconquer the galaxy. And so, enough was enough. Szarekh was unfit to rule, and Imotekh and the Szarekh dynasty will remove him. And what follows is an absolute masterclass from Imotekh, and actually really highlights the strengths of his character. We're told Imotekh invaded the Pariah Nexus and went to war against Sarekh's forces. But here's the key. When facing those lesser dynasties pledged to Sarekh's rule, he made sure to honour all the dynastic and triarchal codes of old. He gave notice and warning to his enemies of his intentions, allowing them to retreat from the campaign unharmed if they choose, or gave them the choice to nominate a champion for single combat, to decide the entire battle instead, so to not waste Necron lives and resources. And he made sure when facing Sarekh's legions themselves, for them to be seen as the aggressor, waiting to launch his true assaults until it could be seen as him being provoked. And of course he didn't have to do any of this, commanding the most powerful dynasty out there, but he did it very cleverly to make it clear to his fellow dynasties that he was a man, or a Necron I guess, of honour. That he wasn't opposed to them or dynastic tradition, merely Szarekh as the Silent King. And this tactic actually worked, and worked brilliantly, causing a great deal of doubt amongst the lesser dynasties sworn to Szarekh within the Nexus Theatre, including a number to outright declare and switch their allegiance to Imotekh. And it was this increasing pressure on Szarekh that led him to unleash the forbidden technomandrites on the human forces within the campaign, leading to ever more Necrons abandoning the Silent King for Imotekh, joining his cause, including the notable addition of Oricon the Diviner. And so here it stands. So not only has Imotekh officially declared war against the Silent King, he has also had a lot of success. The Cold War between the Szarekh and Saracen dynasties has erupted, and underestimate the Stormlord at your peril. Now, what I really love about this so far is how Imotekh's character and history really sets him apart from the other Pharaons. And you get some good insight into Imotekh in this month's White Dwarf, so I definitely recommend checking it out if you can. But how his past as a general, a soldier, not a Pharaon, just makes him think and act differently. How he is far more a threat to Szarekh than any other Necron out there, and far less capable of being swayed or bought as the other Pharaons are. Imotekh only wants Necron rule restored to the galaxy, and he will achieve it himself. Szarekh and the Pharaons threw it away, and he will restore it. And I absolutely love him being irate at the thought of reverting biotransference. Imotekh realises the advantage they have over the lesser races, and how they would be fools to throw it away. And honestly, it is a little surprising Sarekh's even contemplating it right now, given the state of the galaxy, the success of Chaos and the arrival of the Tyranids. Okay, he may not be planning on implementing it right now, just experimenting to see if it even works. But still, you've got bigger things on your hands right now. But Imotech's actions and success are most likely the real reason Szarekh had to personally return and take charge of the Nexus campaigns across the galaxy. Why there was discontent amongst the dynasties pledged to his rule. Far more than the mere fair-on politicking we were originally led to believe. Actually, many doubting and even turning from the Silent King's banner entirely. Yes, we know out of lore, Imotekh can most likely never win. Because I mean it's the Silent King we're talking about here. The Necron equivalent to the Emperor, or at least Guilliman for the Imperium. Abaddon for Chaos. Ghazghkull for the Orcs. He is the figurehead. But man, I hope Imotekh does win, or at the very least doesn't lose. And he really doesn't have to. This is a storyline that can develop and play out for years, with the Necrons only ever getting stronger with the more tomb worlds that awaken. Where's it going to go from here? One word: escalation. The war has only just begun. Imotekh is absolutely not going to be just content with preventing Sarekh's plans for biotransference. He wants to remove the Silent King from power entirely. And now he's started, he's only going to continue. And he's the one Necron out there who can legitimately give Szarekh concern. If he wasn't, Szarekh would have already destroyed him and absorbed his legion. But he couldn't. And now it's built and led to open war. Now there's no avoiding it. The Silent King will have to figure out how to deal with Imotekh, the one Necron whose loyalty he can't buy. I really hope we can get an Imotekh novel. Not only a novel, but a whole series. Anyone who's read the stellar Necron novels, The Infinite and the Divine, as well as the Twice Dead King series, will absolutely know how great Necron characters can be. And being able to see Imotekh get this kind of love and treatment, watch him being awoken by Overlord Photrek, only to be so disgusted he set about taking rule for himself, watching him cleanse Mandragora, then the surrounding systems, force the Sortek into the dominant dynasty, take Helbrecht's hand and then deal with Sarekh's return, all from Imotech's point of view. Oh, it would be absolutely fantastic. I don't know if we'll ever get it, but I really hope we do. We've absolutely got to see Imotekh and Szarekh come face to face in the lore somehow. And I think they're going to have to. I mean, can Szarekh really afford this war right now? I'm not sure he can. The Tyranids are arriving in ever greater number. Chaos is ruining the galaxy. And sons of the Emperor are returning for humanity. The Necrons with their immortality are normally happy to take things slow, but Szarekh really needs to get moving. He needs to deal with Imotekh, and that's not easily done. So I think a council or meeting between the dynasties could be called. With what we know of Szarekh, I think he would at least attempt a quick resolution. I don't think it would work, as I don't think he could offer anything Imotekh would want, but I think he may have to at least try. And if he does, I really hope we get to see it firsthand. But one thing's for sure, whether Szarekh wanted the war against Imotekh or not, it has now arrived, and he will have to deal with it one way or the other. But as always everyone, what do you think? With the eruption of the Necron Civil-War, what do you think Imotech's next move will be? And how do you think Szarekh is going to deal with it? Could we see a meeting between these two legendary Necron icons? And how do you think that discussion would go down? With the escalation of war between the two sides, how might other Necron characters become involved? And at what point do you think the Imperium may realise what is transpiring? As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.